There I was, in a room C? Dimension? Anyway, there was nothing but the purest white I'd ever seen. I tried to walk, but I stood on nothing. I turned my head, but nothing changed. Not a single crack or shadow appeared. Was I still moving through the void? I clapped my hands together, but never heard the sound. I didn't really even feel my hands touch. I'd been on some weird trips when I had to go into the mind of another sapient species, but nothing like this. Sometimes I would even get forced out of a particularly hostile species' mind, but to see an absence of everything? Ever been on a walk, though? Whatever counts as a forest to your people? You always see paths going every which way through the plants and mushrooms, small signs of use that guide you towards destinations. It's remarkably similar to when you visit a mind. In this place, nothing. There was no forest for the past to even exist in. Random thoughts that should be flying around were nowhere to be seen. The static memories that would usually make the forest were absent. All I was shown was the abyss of white. I would have been terrified if not for the warmth I felt from every which way. It was almost relaxing to be in such tranquility. I heard something in the distance that woke me up from my thoughts. Well, here is the wrong word, I'd say. More like I felt a confused yell across the void. Not panicked, just very, very confused. Like someone that had just been woken up halfway through a sleep cycle with a slap to the face. I called out as loud as I could, and I actually heard my voice ring out across the white. Something or other shifted in the void, and I felt I was looking into someone's eyes. I didn't like how I felt like that whenever I decided to turn and look at. I may have begun to go a wee bit mad when I tried to spin around in order to get rid of the feeling. Luckily, after a few turns, I saw someone. I really thought something had gone wrong with the analyzer. I was staring straight into the eyes of the human I was supposed to be inside of. Ignore the wording. What in the sixth universe is happening? I thought. I'd never seen a mental mirage of this quality before. The circumstances left me truly and utterly unable to speak. Then she spoke. Dog, where are we? You said this was supposed to be like a dream mixed in with a weird psychedelic trip, but goddamn, this is freaky. I should have answered her sooner, but I might have been even more confused than she was. I couldn't believe that this was happening. As a pure and utter professional, I, of course, felt absolutely nothing overwhelming about the situation. I paid no heed to the cataclysmic scientific discovery, for which I would likely receive every single prize and grant allotted this century. Yes, there was no part of me that wished to maniacally laugh for the next hour or two, at the chances this would give me once I woke up from the machine. Although I admit a good chuckle or 15 might have escaped, but I swear I refrained from any otherwise villainous hand movements. I was talking to another person inside their mind. Do you even understand just what that means? Something truly, utterly, horrifyingly, mind-breakingly alien. Just something that I could have never even imagined being reality. Oh, how much I revisit that memory just to live it all over again. How often I see it in my dreams. Just how many times I felt like I was back in that sea of white in my dreams. Wow. I got off of the tracks there. I need to slow down on the rum. Have I ever told you just how glad I am for human alcohols? Right, the tracks. Need to get back on them. She started speaking after a moment of me cackling. She asked if everything was alright. I managed to hold on to enough of my routine to reassure her that it was fine. Completely out of the ordinary and definitely out of my scope of expertise. Out of anyone's scope of expertise, but still fine. None of us were screaming in pain, and we were still two completely different entities, so nothing major had gone wrong. Although just being in that mind made me feel all sorts of strange. It wasn't the wrong kind of strange, thankfully. It was just different, I guess. As alien as the creature I was hooked up to the analyzer with. I can't even imagine what a newbie would have gone through if that was their first encounter with an alien mind. I don't think I'm presumptuous in believing they'd have gone mad when they first realised that they were in the white void. I'm thankful it was me who had the first experience, and not just because of the fame and fortune it had brought me. I'd be amazed if anyone other than myself had been recognisable as an individual after what I went through. I only had to go through 3 therapy sessions before I was allowed to be in public again. After reassuring her that everything was fine, the void somehow changed. Not in colour, but the warmth changed. It didn't get hotter or colder, but just different. It was completely calm now. She trusted me. I think, at least. I've been through enough minds to at least understand the difference between calm and agitated. This was calm, although still confused. A somewhat unprofessional thought came to my mind, and I followed it. I poked her, right on the forehead, maybe with quite a bit, more force than I should have. She stumbled back, hands reaching to cover the area I'd hit. Just for a few seconds, the white void became a mix of every colour in the spectrum, like I just disturbed a puddle of water. I really wanted to do it again. I decided to just watch the human in front of me, however. I then noticed she was above me, and I was laying down. Or was I standing? There was no ground, so perspective was all that mattered in that place. Her perspective. From her viewpoint, I had poked her and fallen down on my back. Headache-inducing? Yes. I'm not sure if I got up or if she did, but we were standing from both our perspectives now. These days, what happened inside that human's mind is a thoroughly researched topic, repeated hundreds of times by now. But back then, fuck, I didn't have the slightest proof. I just threw some theories at a wall to see if one broke through. Some of the ideas I raced through didn't make any sense, but a few I began to give serious thought to. At the end, I gave up, however, mostly due to being taken out of my thoughts by the human. I'd been silent for a long minute, which worried her. She had grabbed one of my shoulders, which I jumped away from, seeing the hand was a few feet longer than it should have been. My dismay caused her to notice it and scream, which caused her arm to unelongate back to normal ratios. She was becoming a little frantic. I had to get her to calm down. Yelling calm down wasn't working, so I tried to shake her a little. That did the job somewhat after I confirmed to her that her hands were fine. Human, and thus weird, but fine. So, Dog, you said nothing was wrong, but fuck, this feels so wrong. She was of the same opinion as I. Weirdness all around us. Yes, everything is fine, like I said, but I'd be lying if I told you this was in any sense of the word normal. So, what now, Doc? Try doing that arm stretching again. Maybe try imagining a target for you to grab. Okay, Doc, sure, I guess. She threw her arm into the void. It went beyond what I could see clearly. I could see the arm coming back, fast. Ignoring the third law, her hand simply stopped where it was supposed to. She had a small ball inside her grip. We both stared at it. She threw it upwards and caught it again. She threw it to me. I fumbled and dropped it. The ball fell downwards before disappearing out of my sight. The human's face twisted into a horrid grimace, eyes looking straight down mine. I think humans can do that face in the real world, but I hope the fuck not. Terrifying to see such conviction inside such a clearly demented smile. Imagine telling someone that they had the powers of Almighty God, then believing you, and it also being true. Or just began appearing from the void. Some coalesced from millions of particles, some simply became more and more opaque as time went on, and a few even sprung from geometric patterns. It was like a demo version of a new virtual reality game. Shit just happened out of nowhere. Maniacal laughter would have suited the situation, but instead I only saw that same smile, silently spinning in circles, although her eyes shined with more excitement than crazy. It took a while, and not without a few mistakes, but we were now in a clearly defined room with walls and a floor. She fell down a few feet from where she was floating onto the newly created sofa. I walked around and saw that she was exhausted, breathing as much as her lungs could move air. A few coughs also came from her. I figured her mind must have been projecting mental exhaustion as a physical image onto the form in front of me. Something like that, at least. That or she was having a heart attack in the real world. I sat down on the other side of the sofa. I watched as she slowly regained some composure, even if her breathing never calmed much. Feels like I've been running for the last hour. Well, you did just somehow create a room with furnishings out of nothing. I could get used to this. Just thinking about something and it happening. She relaxed more on the sofa, seemingly sinking into it. Then she was actually sinking into it, then through it. She wasn't making sounds anymore. A completely limp form fell through the floor she created, shattering it like glass. I looked downwards from the hole and saw her accelerating towards the void. The cracks in the floor began spreading quickly. The room crumbled and disappeared back into nothing. The floor became dust underneath me, and I began falling towards the human. She was falling faster though, and every moment that passed only brought us further apart. The white void began crackling and swirling into different shapes and colours. I think it was pink for a few seconds. The colours became tastes, and my limbs became what you can only describe as a mix between a triangle and purple. It was time to get out of the human's mind before I became a vegetable, literally and figuratively. I slowly opened my eyes, making sure I wasn't a collection of tiny eyes or something of the like, but everything seemed normal. I sighed as I looked over towards where the human was sitting. Her eyes were still closed. I tapped her shoulder, but that did nothing. One small glance towards the observation window, and doctors were already running inside the room. Luckily, she appeared fine. Her heart was pumping, and her lungs were taking air in and out, although slowly. The machine she was still hooked up to showed brainwaves, although dim ones. One of the doctors was the first to point out she was asleep. Deeply asleep. They tried to wake her up, but to no avail. They resigned to carrying her to her quarters, with a nurse to keep watch on her medicals. So what actually happened inside her mind? You haven't seen the 1,000 stories published about it over the year. You live in a fucking lead basement? Yeah, alright, I'll explain. The humans have two, almost entirely different consciousnesses. Yeah, weird. I know, I was there. They can stop focusing on something, but something still in them keeps tabs on it. That's why they can catch things that fall from surfaces. They don't need to be 100% cognizant of things. Things like heartbeat are controlled by the subconsciousness. And things like speaking are controlled by the consciousness. Yeah. Same with us. I know. Let me fucking finish. With humans, the line is simply more defined, so the analyzer only got into the conscious part. For her, that void was as true as reality, because it was reality to her mind. But it was her reality, so she had more of a say in it than actual reality. Things were fine when there was just the void. But when she started adding objects, her mind had to keep 100% attention on everything, even things behind her. She couldn't handle the strain, and so she just stopped being conscious. The colours and shapes I saw before exiting was the subconscious flooding into the available space. It was confirmed in the following tests, this time performed on already sleeping humans. But yeah, weirdest day in the office I ever had.